In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your first webinar in GoToWebinar.com. So you've already logged in, of course, and right here on the left you'll see My Webinars. Click to expand that, and you'll see Schedule a Webinar right here. Click Schedule a Webinar. Okay, there's 3 steps essentially, but some information, vital information you'll want to put when scheduling your webinar. The first one here is, of course, the webinar name. Now, when you've done this a couple times and you have repeating ones, you can schedule a similar one here. But for right now, we're starting that first ever important webinar. In the description, what I like to do is put features or benefits in the description. So when someone comes to your registration page, they'll see the title plus this short description. Now, you don't have too many characters, but what I will generally do is put features and benefits in this that you have probably done or taken from a blog post or an email newsletter. After you've done a description, scroll down here, and now you schedule a date and a time. Now, if you're doing afternoons, times, or whatever, make sure that when you enter it here, you actually adjust these PM and AM times right here, because it doesn't do that always automatically, so just double check that. You can click here and schedule the actual date, and then go here and enter the time. Generally, we found that Central Time Zone, midday, 11, or noon are good times. Now, that brings to the next one, Central Time Zone. That's where we're located, but you'll need to find yours here. I would highly suggest that whatever you do your webinars, you schedule them for your local time zone, and then we'll share with you at webinarbuddy.com how to create ways to easily help people in different time zones figure out where they're at. That will be a big deal, by the way. People won't be able to just naturally do that if they're not used to working in different time zones. Recurs, keep all that the same. Now, you want built-in audio conferencing with voice over IP, and your account may not have this, so just figure out if that's the case for you. Okay, now on the panelist here, if it's just going to be you, you're going to log into GoToWebinar.com and sign in and start the webinar from this panel in GoToWebinar. But if you have a guest, someone outside of your office or home, wherever you're doing your webinar, you want to add those panelists here and put their email address. This will send them a panelist invitation. Now, you want to make sure they don't actually promote that link that this panelist sends. You want them to do the public link with GoToWebinar. So I don't have any new panelists, so I'm going to keep going, save and continue. This is the first step. Now we're at the second step. GoToWebinar has some really cool features here for branding the registration page that I'll show you after we're done. You can upload a logo here. You can choose your from some templates they offer. Let's just scroll down because we're going to keep all that default. Now, name. Now this is where, if you're the main presenter or whoever the presenter is, you want to enter their name, title, and organization. You can also add in a message when they arrive. Sometimes I like to go to the group chat over here because I don't like GoToWebinar's built-in chat function. So right here you can add a chat. Thanks for signing up to the Webinar Buddy webinar, or whatever you'd like to send when they first sign in. Once you're done with that, save and continue. Okay, now we're on the third step, registration. Now, by default, it has all these fields here, okay, that you can set to required or even listing. Now, if you want more registrants for your webinar, I'd select clear all and just have name, last name, and email address. Now, often, if I don't want to put all these other hurdles in their way, but I want a little bit more information of who the people are in my webinar, I click zip code just so later on I can go back and check that. So I'm going to check zip code. Just depending on what webinar type you're doing for the first one, you might want to put something else here. But I would suggest lowering the bars as low as possible for people to sign up. You can create questions. We'll do those later We'll talk about those later in the membership at webinarbuddy.com. Okay, so once you're done, save and email me the invitation. Okay, now you can see you've set up the webinar here in GoToWebinar. I just clicked this drop down button. Now this is the link that you want to use to promote registrations for the webinar. This is what your webinar looks like once it's done. Very basic how to get started with your first webinar at GoToWebinar.com.